Welcome to Jawabu Talk, here for you. I take this opportunity to thank our partners in Jawabu for continually supporting this cause, and to you, our viewer. If you'd like to partner with us, we are selling t-shirts at 1,000 shillings to support this ministry and its growth. Our till number is 5273131. 5273131. God bless you for your support. Now, Proverbs 19:20 tells us, listen to advice and accept instructions, and in the end you will be wise. That is the New King James Version. Or listen to counsel and receive instruction, that you may be wise in your latter days. Today we continue with matters succession, and on board we are with Winnie. We've had 3 sessions on succession, and now we are concluding this matter. We had a story of Dr. Simbiri and also many other widows and widowers who suffer after a loved one has departed, and the media does not spare us. Now, welcome Winnie to Jawabu Talk once again.
Thank you.
Kindly introduce yourself.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Regina.
You're welcome.
For having me once again in this show. As you've heard, my name is Winnie Muchela. I'm a partner in the firm of Ashtiva and Company Advocates. We have office in Nakuru and Nairobi, Upper Hill, and Digiri. And I'm married to one husband, and I've got 2 sons, and I thank God for them.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for that introduction. Now we get into the business of succession. Kindly tell us the impact before we start that, explain to us what succession means. Now, many of us don't understand that term.
Yes. Actually, in the context of what we are discussing today regarding the law of succession, it actually means how the property or the estate of a deceased person is distributed upon his death. So how is it distributed? The mode of distribution. Generally, that is just the simplest we can describe or define succession.
Layman's language.
Layman's language without complicating it.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, tell us the impact of succession first to the family. No, first we start with the individual, family, and then the society. Because we read in the media, the print media, electronic media, where there's a lot of issues concerning succession, and some even take many years to be resolved. So explain to us the impact of this issue.
Okay. When you talk about succession, there are different types of succession.
Okay.
So it's good to be able to clarify on that, because we've got what we call intestate succession and tested succession. So intestate is where the deceased has left a will.
Okay, all right.
He had written a will. That means everything is clear. That we don't have to start now imagining and thinking and fighting and agreeing, or the beneficiaries or the people who have been left behind have to now start thinking of how this particular property or the estate has left behind will be distributed.
Okay.
So that one is pretty straightforward, unless it is challenged.
All right.
But the most common one, especially in Africa and in Kenya in particular, is what we call the intestate succession. So intestate succession is where the deceased did not leave a will. You've died, and the people you've left behind, your loved one, will have to figure out on how the estate or the property will be distributed. If they are in agreement, they normally agree and able to get someone called and appoint someone to act as an administrator to file a matter in court, the succession proceedings in court, for purposes of distribution of the estate. However, the instances where there are disagreements.
Yes, mostly.
And most of the time, and that's what it has been brought also to the public, there are those disputes that arise because, see, every person or beneficiary or the people that have been left behind, they have got personal interest. You find someone feels I'm more entitled than the other.
Yes.
Maybe because I'm a lady and the other one is a man. And actually, Kenya being a patriarchal society, majority of the time is the men that feel they are more entitled.
Yes.
And the ladies or the girls or the women are not entitled.
True.
So that they will want to disinherit the ladies or the women in the family. So in such a scenario, the impact of course to the individual, it means that there will be disagreements between members of the family.
True.
And many a times you'll find that the family which was once together a happy family are now dragged into some fights, which at times are protracted court cases that run for many years.
It's true.
There are instances where now you find people are calling each other siblings. They don't see eye to eye.
True.
Because now of this succession issue that they are all contesting. So what I'm saying is that as a result, there will be disputes between individual members of the family.
Yes.
And over and above the dispute to the society. Now, there'll be, of course, these cases that you see being reported in the news, of the disagreements, and of course the time that it takes and having to go to court. So the courts are also congested, because of the many cases that are filed there. So it ends up let me not call it wasting the court's time, but it ends up taking court's time, which perhaps will have been used for other needful cases or matters.
Okay.
So that is also the impact that it has. And actually in our courts we've got so many cases, some running in years.
We've seen.
Several years.
We've seen in the media.
Exactly. So and as a result, we find that an issue that will have been resolved in less than a year, it takes several years. And this of course will have to involve the judicial, the courts, in terms of determining and making a decision on how the distribution is going to be done.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now let me ask, matters succession, and we've gone to court, but somehow we've agreed. We've come to a level where we've agreed as family members, let's sort out our issues out of court. Is that possible, and what is the process?
Actually, for succession, you cannot avoid court.
Okay.
Court process is inevitable because it is a requirement by law. Under the Succession Act, once a person dies, you cannot touch or deal in his property without filing a succession case in court.
All right. Okay.
If any person deals with the property of a deceased person, it can be land, you try to sell it. It's actually an offense.
Oh, even a business, even if it was a business partner?
It's called intermeddling.
All right.
If it's a business partner, for purposes of continuity, you can continue running it.
Okay.
For purposes of preserving, you can continue running, but you cannot dispose. Where disposing, I mean you sell or you assign it to a third party without an order of the courts.
Oh, nice to
you
know
do that, it will be an offense, which we call intermeddling. And of course, there are repercussions to it. Unfortunately, most people don't know about that.
Yes.
You find a person, a parent, or a loved one has died, and the family wants to sell the property, and they come before a lawyer. At times, even in the rural areas, they do agreements, and a third party purchases the property. The implication is, if one day any of the dependents, and we'll come to describe or define who a dependent is, moves to court over that issue,
Okay.
that transaction will be nullified.
Oh my goodness.
There is no capacity to deal with that property. So it will be nullified. If you paid money, we'll say we are sorry, and you'll either now have to go back to whoever sold to you as a debt, which they can accept to refund you, or now you also now go to court to see how you can have your money refunded, which of course is also not going to be very easy. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know it was that complicated.
It is.
Oh.
Yeah, so you cannot avoid succession.
Okay.
So what normally happens if you've agreed, just like what you asked, you're supposed now to agree also on who is going to be your administrator.
Okay.
So that now you file document, their papers, standard. There's normally actually a standard form.
Okay.
Yeah, how it's required to be filed.
All right.
You file them with the information in terms of you need a letter from the chief.
Okay.
You need a death certificate.
Original
of the deceased person.
Okay.
But the original will be required at the time of confirmation.
All right.
But for purposes of not filing the succession in court, you need the copy, the letter of the chief. So the chief will just be basically saying, I know the deceased person.
Yes.
He was from this particular village. I know his family. He left one wife or two wives or three. So he'll give those information, and I know his children. These are the number of the children that he had. So it's usually a letter, and on the letterhead, from that office. So with the letter, of course, and the documents that the lawyer will have prepared, you file them in court for purposes of the court issuing letters of administration.
Okay. When it seems like it's a long process, I'm looking at a person who is illiterate. What happens to them?
What I've seen happening, and I know that is usually the case for many people.
Yes.
You find they're not able to afford a lawyer.
Yeah.
I've seen widows, I've seen dependents going to court, actually even at the registry, to seek assistance.
Okay.
Because I've told you it's a standard application.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So when you when you are to file the papers in court, it is standard, so that they'll just guide you.
Okay.
This is what you need to prepare, and this is how you're supposed to ensure that if they're done, so that you bring for purposes of us commencing the process.
Okay.
So if you are illiterate, that does not stop you from seeking assistance from courts.
All right.
And at the registry, we've got different registries in court.
Yes.
So when you just go there, we normally have a desk for customer service. Just say, this is the problem I have. Most people call it kushtaki kifo.
Oh.
Yes, laymen call it kushtaki.
Kushtaki kifo.
That's how I've had it a time being called kushtaki kifo. So of course now they will refer you to the registry that you're supposed to visit, and now from there of course they'll guide you on how to commence the process.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And Winnie, in the event that an administrator is challenged by the other family members, what happens?
Yes. So when there's challenge, it's challenged by maybe it can be a family member who feels entitled to obtain or to be an administrator. That particular person files what we call an objection. If you feel that the person who has applied for the letters of administration will not be able to administer the estates well, or will not be fair, or you don't trust that person, you can now object to that particular application or the petition.
All right.
So how do you object? Is what you call, you file an objection, giving reasons as to why you are objecting and who you feel should be issued the letters of administration. The court will require you now to serve the person who has applied for the letters of administration, and upon receipt, that person who had earlier filed or applied to be the administrator will be allowed to reply.
Okay.
And then the court will give a date to hear both sides.
Okay.
And then make a determination on who will be the administrator.
Okay.
Many a times, of course, they consider on there's usually the level of priority. Yeah. For example, if it is a spouse, the surviving spouse, of course, is usually given a priority, and the children.
Okay. They're given a priority. All right.
However, if the objector gives valid reasons, for example, it can be a co-wife, and says that I don't feel, or I have my own reservation on this letter of administration only being granted to my co-wife, and the other administrator maybe is the child, or the children. They can be even 2 or 3. So for it to be fair, I propose that we be co-administrators.
It's possible.
So that the interests of the people I represent, maybe another family, they're also taken into consideration.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So of course the court will look into that and then make a determination or a finding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice to know that, Winnie.
Yes.
I guess we are all getting informed of what we need to know about succession, because it's been an issue affecting us, especially in the African context. We contend on who is going to get what estate and what shares. So we are being informed and given insight on what we can do about it. Now, Winnie, what about the rights of children as far as succession is concerned? Because sometimes you find children are thrown out, maybe both parents are not present, they've passed on, they're thrown out, they become orphans, and they're thrown to the streets. They don't know their rights, and maybe their parents left a lot of property for them. So what is the the rights of children as far as succession is concerned?
Okay. In succession, I'd mentioned a group of people called dependents.
Yes.
The persons called dependents. So dependents, these are people who actually taken to, just with the literal sense of it, to have depended.
Yes.
Or the deceased was taking care of them when he was alive. So they're depending on that particular person who is now deceased. So the dependents in the law of succession, the list begins with the wife, or wives, a former wife or former wives.
Oh my goodness.
And then now it goes to say children, step-children. But for the stepchildren, are the ones who are being taken care of by the deceased before he died. But for children of the deceased, whether he was taking care of them when he was alive or dead, including also the wives that I've mentioned, all the wives that I've mentioned, whether they were being taken care of the deceased when he was alive or not, they are dependent and they are entitled by law to inherit from the estates. So that there are instances where you find maybe a child who was born or who is born to the deceased in a separate marriage, in a different union, or what we call, it can be, let's say what you normally call nowadays mpango wa kando. But you see, the law does not discriminate. For as long as you're the child of the deceased, you are a dependent. For as long as it is not in dispute that you are the child, you are a dependent. So all children are taken equal. And they'll benefit or they will inherit from the estates equally. Whether it was a male child or a female child, because also that is another issue. We find mostly on matters children, the male also discriminates against the girls or the female. But the law of succession is clear. All children are treated equal, whether they're born in that marriage or outside marriage. That one does not matter.
So I'm imagining a scenario where a parent has passed on. Maybe it was one parent, they've passed on, they've left a property. The children are very young. they have no idea maybe what is happening. I can imagine 12-year-olds, seriously, they wouldn't know, yeah? What would happen to those children? Who would be there to enlighten them about their rights as children? Because sometimes even the relatives overpower those children. So how can we protect our children so that they don't become victims? Yes, and they'll always be saying the system is unjust as they're growing up. Yeah.
I'll be very honest. Unfortunately, these children, they rely mostly on the administrators.
Okay.
Who act as their trustees.
Yes.
Because you see, actually, they cannot even if it's inheritance, none can be transferred to their names. It will always be the name of the trustee to hold in trust for these children.
Yes.
So the law expects or demands of them to be able to account and to be able to handle this estate or the property that they are handling on behalf of these children, to handle them well. But in the instance where they don't comply, now a third party can bring that issue before the courts. Yeah, it can be a relative, it can be a friend of the deceased, and clearly states what is happening, so that if a particular property was being held in trust for the children and there was someone who wants to sell it, then of course you can now bring that issue before the court, and of course most of the time the court will stop such a transaction. But unfortunately many a times we don't have people whom we can trust who can do that. So the children, when they get to the age of they call accountability, that's over 18 years. Yeah, no, they can still go to court. Yes, and be able to bring to the attention of the court that so and so, who was our trustee, did not handle our property well, abused her responsibility or his responsibility or the powers he had. So now that is when she'll be called upon to account. Yes.
Well, I'm trying to protect children.
Because they are majorly affected.
They are majorly affected because they don't know. They really don't know. And sometimes the administrators, they're those who are good, but they're those who really take advantage and just give us the confidence that as this particular person, not necessarily the administrator, goes to kituo cha kifo, call it kituo cha kifo with this
kushtaki
kifo. If akienda with these children, will they get assistance? Maybe it's not administrator. Somebody has just felt for these children. They are going to suffer, or they've been deprived of their rights over the property. Can they get help?
Yes, they can get help, and of course they need also to show proof, or in terms of this particular administrator who was now also a trustee, or was confirmed as a trustee for these children, is squandering the inheritance of these children. There was this particular property that she was holding or he was holding, but it is now sold, and the money was not assigned to the children. Actually, all the properties that will be transferred to the children, it's surely in the name of this trustee holding in trust for the children. Anytime he's to dispose them or to deal with those property, it's supposed to be the order of the courts. But I can tell you, many times they don't obtain the order. So of course that is also an illegality. So we'll just now be reversing the process, and of course now when the court finds that indeed this person has not been administering this estate in the interest of the children, the court will either now assign another trustee, and also this one who was misappropriated that estate of the property. Of course she or he will be called to account for it, and at some instances even refund or return what has been misappropriated.
Wow, I hope it works for our children out there. They are suffering.
Yes, yes.
I hope it works. They find angels to help them.
Exactly.
To maneuver through this
yes.
issue.
The intestate is not the best, especially for children. Yeah, because you see, you don't know who will be the administrator, and is he or she going to be fair and just and take the interests of these children as a priority. Yeah.
So we have to wait until they're 18 years.
Yes, unfortunately. And that's what we find many a times when a parent dies and leaves behind young children. We've seen some of them going to the street.
True.
Yet their parents were very rich.
Very rich, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Thank you for that, Winnie.
Terrible.
Now, how can one prepare for death, Winnie, in matters succession? It's a taboo in the African context. Tell us how we can prepare for death.
One of the things I always say that there's nothing as assured as death.
All right.
Yeah. And we always told we live today like it's our last day. So the best way to prepare from the legal angle, is to prepare a will.
Okay.
That is the best. Because you say it will clearly state how you want your property to be distributed upon your demise.
Right.
And it will be able to clear confusions, and these fights and rankles as a result of not having prepared that will.
Right.
So in summary, the best way to prepare for death is just to have that will. And a will can be both written or oral.
We'll get to that oral issue.
Yes.
Thank you, our viewers. We are going to be back next week with a continuation on the topic succession. Thank you and God bless you.